We've seen a good portion of Fade this weekend for VCT in all of the regions, and most of it has been fairly meh. It's been good to see the new agent in action, but there wasn't a particular game or map that convinced me that Fade should be picked over Sova or another initiator, until we saw NRG's Eeiu play it on Ascent. In this video we'll focus on his defensive half, as his attacking half was, and show off some of the smart ways that Fade was used in place of Sova. First thing to highlight with a pistol, he hasn't picked up a Prowler. This is quite common, I suppose, for a lot of teams when they have this buy to pick up a Ghost and a Prowler, but this time Eeiu's picked up the C's. Starts off playing mid, mostly to support the Chamber, who's going to push up very aggressively with his own TP, but the B execute comes in, and pretty much straight away this C's comes into perfect action. Whilst the execute tries to come in on B main, we first see the paint shell used from the Raze to slow it down. And then basically as soon as this trademark triggers, we also see the knife come in as well onto B main, the C's goes down and pretty much grabs everybody. Whilst the C's doesn't catch the enemy Raze of Corey, the trademark does. He's out in the open, he's slowed, and it's easy pickings from then on out, and this execute is completely shut down. Even a Haunt comes in shortly afterwards, trails and pings these two players hiding in the smoke, and the Chamber goes for the wraparound, and it's fairly clean all things considered. And don't worry, there's a fair few more of these kind of rounds that really show you what Fade can do. Round 2 is an eco, and we could skip into it a little bit. TSM playing a little bit more coy this round, and the first thing I want to highlight is this Prowler used just to clear short and see if there's anybody there trying to push in into this tree position. Then nothing happens for a few more seconds, and Eeiu has a nice little lineup here that gets to the top of this board and pings so many players breaking in onto the site. This is a real nice lineup for a couple of reasons. For one, it clears pretty much a lot of these positions like Jenny and so, but also because you throw it and you pretty much instantly put it down, it's very hard for TSM to react to that unless they're pre-aiming it, in which case they're not pre-aiming multiple angles that they could be fighting on. I know it's against an eco for NRG, but I think this lineup is going to be very useful for a lot of you Fade wannabes, I suppose, that want to play it well. Round 3 starts with some B aggression for TSM. NRG spot it, you've got Tex here that has to teleport out and stuff. Whilst there's not anything going on A, Eeiu still throws out a Prowler just to see if there's anything going on. I'm not 100% sure if it connects onto Corey. I think it does, but he has to destroy it. After breaking the boom bot and seeing the paint shells go down, he does throw down another Prowler just to double check some of these angles, even checking in on the close one near the orb just to see, but there's no pressure there. But this is what I wanted to really highlight. It's a nice combo with the Omen that throws out a Paranoia, near sights all of these players coming in from short, and then the Haunt's thrown out into this corner that's going to check and clear anybody that pushes on through. Sub Rosa, fully near sight, does still get the kill, but Eeiu trades it out and gets traded himself. But you can see what the plan was overall and where it could be useful. Round 4 has another cool Haunt lineup that comes in from mid. The defense are smoked off on archers, so they don't have any information on what's going on. So Eeiu has this lineup that actually catches the top of this wall with this Haunt. This is a good position because not only does it clear the main portions of mid, it even catches a little bit of tiles if anybody peeks out, but it'll also try and catch these short positions too. Generally, whatever the plan is for TSM, if they're playing in mid, they're going to be caught. The one thing I did want to mention though is there is a range on this Haunt. You can see it on the minimap quickly, and you can see that any players on attack that are in this bottom main position will not be tagged. I wanted to mention that as a PSA just in case you guys maybe copy this lineup. You can still face up against an op, for example, on attacking bottom mid that your Haunt won't be able to tag. Whilst we have a bit of downtime, I did want to say I think that's one of the strengths of what Eiyu's been able to do on this agent. He's not just throwing out Haunts at the start of a round like you would a recon dart, for example. He's holding onto that main bit of utility to try and catch TSM off by surprise with timings, instead of using it on the 1:40 mark and then the 1:05 mark when it's off recharge. He's just saving it for those moments where TSM are less likely to expect it based off utility cycles. Which is scary. You have less intel to work with if you're NRG. You don't have a recon dart, you don't have an owl drone, you don't have any proxy utility, I think is what a lot of people call it. So NRG don't have a lot of information to work with here, but they still find a lot of success based off how they're using this utility aggressively. Here's an example of catching TSM by surprise with the timing of this utility. A Haunt is thrown down right into this corner of A main, which will catch anybody that's playing on Speedway and also playing towards Switch. I mean, look at how many players this tags up. It gives Tex basically enough to work with from this position, knowing where people are roughly coming from. But look at this as well. From stairs to other players are pushed in. Both of them get caught by the C's that again comes in from this market position. Easy pickings for Tex, and the final play is cleared up by Eeiu. I've never seen somebody get so much success off the back of seizes, and we're only 4 rounds in. And speaking of seize, look at this combo that comes in. So that B main aggression comes in with a boom bot from TSM. As soon as they pretty much peek around that corner, the seize gets thrown specifically with the center part on this corner so it can catch anybody here, and then the paint shell's thrown in. It doesn't get the kill onto TSM, but you could definitely see a universe where they actually wide peek out and they have these 2 players that have to run to safety that you can easily kill. Whilst we're watching Eiyu's perspective getting a 2k here, this is where Ethan actually shows up massively. Eiyu's playing on the site, he's taking a fight against Corey, and Ethan calls that he's going to flash site. Eeiu peeks in here, faces the wall, so he kind of plays in an anti-flash position and only gets flashed for a short second, is able to take that fight against Corey that wasn't expecting Ethan to throw that flash in. Like, that's some insane team play from 2 players that have only been playing with each other a couple of weeks. Maybe it was a bit more luck, but that was a great teamwork and coordination there for Eeiu to get the kill and Ethan to set him up. Here on A main, we see a big utility combination. Eeiu throws in the seize to hit this A main choke, at the same time that a knife, a flash, and a paint shell are thrown into this position. Allows Ethan to just aggressively peek to see if he can catch on to anybody, but you can imagine the kind of damage that it would do if TSM was stood there. TSM go mid, and I again wanted to highlight this haunt that's used that hits the top of the ceiling. This time, however, it's actually thrown in from short, so this is a good place to put a haunt because you could hit it from multiple positions. You get a freeze frame to see that the haunt is up there and it hasn't tagged any of these TSM players because of the range that I mentioned before. So they can push up, they're spotted by a prowler, and that's pretty much it. I want to talk about this tree short position for initiators and how important it is, but there's another round that really shows why that's important, and we'll get onto it. Now we get to see the Nightfall in action, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. Nightfall gets used towards this B main spot. A Paranoia also is used alongside. It catches onto this position of anybody that's sort of in between this sort of B lobby and tiles position, but it'll also funnel down and get any of these players coming in from spawn that might be holding that angle. That pretty much connects onto everybody. KO also from short throws in a flash that pops in tiles. So if any TSM player tries to escape like 7 is here, they're going to run right into a flash and right into a raise using the Showstopper ultimate. Remember that anybody caught in Nightfall gets deafened, so 7 here doesn't hear an audio cue that the raise has pulled out the Showstopper. So he's deafened, he's flashed, he has no senses to work with, and so he has no information that someone's pushed up with this ultimate. You can see all of the trails showing of where everybody from TSM is. There's obviously audio cues that Eiyu's going to hear to how many players were connected on by the Nightfall. And yeah, NRG takes so much space and find a nice 2 kills to really shut down TSM early on this attack. You also see a Prowler used as the Showstopper comes in just to clear anybody else that's in this spot that some might not initially spot, for example. Much later on in the round, TSM do go for this B execute. I wanted to highlight this haunt. The haunt lands on the top of here, and I wasn't sure why, but actually from sort of testing it a little bit, it actually is a nice little sight line onto stairs. So if there's an attacker in an aggressive position, he's going to get spotted by a haunt that not many people are going to even realize is a thing. So yeah, this is a real cool lineup to copy. But then it ends up in a 1 versus 3. The seize is thrown onto this default position that connects nicely onto Subrosa. And yeah, just some of the utility that NRG used in this series was really solid from everybody, not only Eeiu. I want to show round 12 before I show round 11, because there's just one lineup to highlight here. It's over right on the corner of Speedway here that gets thrown out onto this side of B main. Again, it's an interesting lineup that might catch TSM by surprise if they're not expecting it. It's kind of like a recon dart that you need to pre-aim these positions where the dart could come in. But I think we're going to see some really creative lineups with how this haunt is used, especially in these high top positions, which Ascent has plenty of. But the last round I actually wanted to highlight is round 11. It's a round that NRG do lose, but I think it goes to show why Fade looks so good on this map and why initiators are so good in this short position. TSM use a lot here initially, Hunter's Fury to try and clear out this spot and go in for a fast A execute. But we get to see why KO plays in this position a lot. You see the suppression come in onto short, and also a fragment to stop anybody from pushing in. But still, because TSM is using all of this utility, it's something that NRG have to respect. They back off all the way back to tree. We even see the Fade throwing a Prowler just to double check that nobody's pushed up or beating their timings. You're still playing up against a Raze, for example. They could blast pack and close that distance before you even know it. Second Prowler is used and connects onto a player in tree, and this seize again catches onto 3 players in this spot. You might see that 7 actually doesn't get caught here by the seize, and that's because he's teleporting. He gets tagged, he TPs out, it doesn't matter where he TPs to. it still breaks that trail that connects him into the center, which I think is a nice little interaction that you should know about. But if I rewind it just a little bit, you also see that a paranoia comes in from Haze that unfortunately misses everybody. This is some great utility that's used that doesn't really connect in the right places, and there's no real follow-up this time, which allows TSM to win out this round. But you really get to see what Fade can really bring to the table. On attack, it's a lot harder, sure. I think a lot of teams have struggled with that. But this half and this map total has been a great indication as to what Fade can do in this meta and how much she can vamp up maps like Ascent, which have been really stale with the agents and compositions that we see for the longest time. Now that Fade's involved, I think we're going to see a lot of innovation there, which is only a good thing for one of the older maps in the game. And also NRG with Ethan, with Eeiu. The whole squad is looking really solid, and I think it's going to maybe not qualify for Masters Copenhagen, but certainly do some damage and provide some upsets. But that's it for this time. Thanks for watching, take care, and if you have any other agents or players you want me to take a look at, let me know. Thanks, bye.